Welcome back to the Mech Lab, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about bad mechs. Specifically, today we're talking about the walking bomb. Now, what is a walking bomb? Easy. It's a mech that is loaded down with so much ammo that it has a very high likelihood of exploding. As you can see, all of these mechs are using a lot of ammo-based weaponry. The Dervish here has a ton of SRM ammo, like way too much SRM ammo. It has 100 shots for 2 launchers, so it can literally fight for 50 rounds without running out of ammo. But what's also really terrible is that it has very little armor on its arms, meaning that those arms are going to have a high likelihood of exploding if they're hit. Having the ammo in the arms does provide a lot of crit padding because of actuators and stuff like that. So ammo in the arms is actually not a terrible idea, especially if the only weapon that you're using that has that ammo is in that arm. But I don't really like the idea of having ammo in both of the arms and both of the torsos. This means that pretty much no matter where the armor gets penetrated, there's a really good chance of it getting crit out, which means that this mech will just be dead. Next up, the Thunderbolt 5S. This is sort of the classic line mech. It has lots of armor. The Thunderbolt is a really decent generalist, but it does carry a rather large amount of ammo. Personally, instead of the SRM2, I would much rather see just a medium laser in this slot. And we can use the last ton to maybe just, I don't know, slap on a few more machine guns, especially considering that it has 200 rounds of machine gun ammo and only 2 machine guns to fire it. I mean, it's never going to run out of that ammo. And again, we're seeing machine gun ammo in the arm as well. But in this case, they're much more heavily armored, which makes it less likely that they're going to get crit out and exploded. 16 rounds of LRM-15 ammo is also, like, a little bit too much. But then again, having 8 rounds is probably not quite enough for an entire match. But the thing is that the Thunderbolt really wants to get in and use its medium lasers and large laser. So I would be totally okay with only having 1 ton of ammo for this unit. Now we've got the Roughneck. And this is a later era mech that does have case. Now what case does is it makes it so that if you have an ammo explosion in either the arm or the torso on that side, it won't travel into the center torso. Case is really, really valuable. I would recommend that if you're building mechs, always put it in. Look for mechs that have case if you are running ammo. In my battle value video, I did go over that there is a small discount for having ammo without case, but the battle value that you pay to have the case, in my opinion, is so worth it. Now, let's have a quick look at this mech here. It has 200 armor. It's very similar to the Thunderbolt, actually, overall. It has the same weight, has significantly less battle value, has the same speed, it has slightly less armor. But as you can see, it's dedicating such a ridiculous amount of tonnage to all of this ammo. It has 60 rounds of fire. Even if you take precision ammo with that AC-5, you still have 30 rounds of fire. That is far too much ammo. You do not need that much. Similarly, again, it has SRM-6 ammo, 30 rounds for 2 guns, meaning it can fire for 15 rounds. It's never going to run out, but at the same time, it's also a little bit too much. One thing that's good about this is that they're carrying ammo in both torsos, meaning that if you lose one of the torsos, you don't lose all of your ammo. This is important since if you lose your left torso, you've still got that SRM-6 in the right torso. It has 2 full tons of machine gun ammo for 2 machine guns. It's just so ridiculous. There's no reason to have this much ammo. Even with case, this thing is so likely to blow up if it gets hit in the left or right torso. It's not a mech that I would ever recommend. Even if it is very cheap on battle value, this thing just has almost no firepower because all of its tonnage has been dedicated to ammo. Lastly, we have sort of the classic generalist bad mech, the Shadowhawk 2H. The Shadowhawk is bad for a lot of reasons. The main one, in my opinion, is that it just has ammo in every single torso, meaning that no matter where it gets penetrated, it has a good chance of exploding. It's also bad because it has just no focus. It's a mech that wants to fight at close range, but still has an AC-5 and an LRM-5 for a bit of long-range fire. It's just a mech that doesn't really succeed at doing anything particularly well. It gives up armor, it gives up mobility, just so that it can have a weapon at each range and kind of suck everywhere. The Shadowhawk out of the Intro Tech 55-ton jumpy mechs is definitely the worst in my opinion. Now we're just going to have a quick look at some of the alternatives that you have to the Shadowhawk. Let's have a look at the Griffin. Now the Griffin does have some problems of its own. It runs a little bit too hot, firing both of its weapons will build heat. And it does carry a little bit too much ammo for its LRM-10. And all of its weapons are in the right side. This means that essentially if the mech loses its right side, it's pretty much useless. It's just a kicking bot at that point. Which, having a 5.85 kicking bot is not terrible, but given the fact that it wants to stay at long range with these weapons, it's not going to be in a great position to get there. Let's look at sort of the opposite of the Griffin, the Wolverine 6M, still very mobile with 5.85 movement. It has a little bit more armor so that it can get in close and brawl, and it has a very dedicated weapon set. It's designed to get in there and mix it up. But even on this mech, largely considered to be one of the best mechs in 3025, we see a small problem. The ammo is in the right torso, whereas the weapon is in the left torso. This means that if you lose either torso, the SRM-6 is disabled. And again, it has a similar problem to the Griffin, where it has all of the weapons basically in one side, other than the SRM-6. So I would like to see the SRM ammo just moved over to the left torso. It's a small change, but it would make a big difference when you're using this mech. It means that no matter which side torso gets taken out, it still has a little bit of firepower, either from the medium laser and large laser, or from the left torso SRM-6. And of course it always has that medium laser in the head. Head-mounted weapons are generally pretty good in my opinion. Now, we have an alternative version of the Griffin here, essentially, with the Shadowhawk 2K. The 2K has a smaller LRM launcher, with the same amount of ammo, but only 1 ton dedicated to it. But it has the exact opposite problem that the Griffin has. It has way too many heat sinks. And I actually have no idea why it has so many heat sinks. It's literally incapable of producing heat. So I would love to see dropping 2 of these heat sinks and grabbing an additional 2 tons of armor, just armoring this thing up as much as possible. Sure, it would cost a heck of a lot more. You could also dedicate a ton to getting that 5 jump, which is really, really important for getting up over mountains and moving through forests, that kind of thing. Between these 2 mechs, I would say that the 2K is actually probably a little bit better. It has less firepower, but it doesn't have as many heat problems. And most importantly, it's 130 battle value less. So the 2K is actually a pretty decent mech. No mech is going to be perfect, even the Wolverine 6M. So recognizing bad mechs is really about maximizing their efficiency and minimizing their weaknesses, and finding the mechs that are really good, even if they do have a couple of flaws. I just want to go back to the Thunderbolt really quick and show you what I think is a really great alternative. You can see they're about equivalent battle value, but the 5SS is much less of a generalist, whereas the 5S sort of has a weapon for every range. The 5SS has the PPC for that sort of medium to long range fighting, and then just a complete dedicated close range complement. Flamer for dealing with infantry instead of the machine guns. The medium lasers stay the same, and the SRM is upgraded to an SRM-6 to give it a bit more punch. Personally, I would have rather seen maybe 2 SRM-4s and drop the flamer, like anti-infantry stuff entirely, but on a trooper sort of line mech, you kind of do want to have that anti-infantry capability, I suppose, so it makes sense to have the flamer there. But you can just see it has so much less ammo, right? Just 1 ton of ammo in the CT, meaning that it's much, much less likely to blow up than this thing. So all that battle value that you're paying for it actually ends up getting used. They have to chew through all of your armor and can't just kill you with a lucky ammo crit. Now, last couple mechs I want to just go into here. The Battlemaster 6C, one of my new favorite mechs. Great close-range brawler in later eras. It's got small X-pulse lasers for that in-close anti-infantry firepower. It's got a Streak SRM-6, meaning that all of the missiles hit, so I really like Streaks. I think that they're way more efficient than normal SRMs. And it's got the light AC-5 spam, so that it's got some pretty accurate medium-range fire. It has just enough ammo that it can fire all of them for 10 rounds if you take precision ammo, which is enough, because this thing should be on the front lines and should be tanking, and it's probably going to die at some certain point, right? But it's got a light engine as well as 2 light AC-5s in each torso to stoke up some of that crit potential, meaning that you're a lot less likely to actually get blown up with the ammo. Even has the ER small lasers in left and right torsos mounted on the rear, so that can also take up a crit slot. It just has really, really excellent crit padding. And I mean, to round it all out, it has case 2 in both torsos, so even if you do get your ammo crit, it's not really going to do that much. Yeah, you might lose an AC-5, or you might get an engine crit, or maybe you'll lose an E or small laser, but way better than just having your whole torso blown off. So this is what you're really looking for when you're running an ammo-dependent mech. Plenty of redundancy, has case to keep it from actually just blowing up completely, and it's just a really good overall spread of weapons. It has a dedicated purpose, it's a close-in fighter. Love this mech. Now, the Panther is sort of a weird mech that wants to fight at mid to close range. And out of all of the variants that use sort of the original weaponry, I think that this is among the best. It's got the SRM-4 still, but it's got Artemis-capable ammo. I've gone over that I don't really like Artemis on LRMs in my battle value video, but this is always on, right? You actually will never fire the SRMs without having Artemis active. I think it probably would have been better just to have maybe 3 SRM-2s instead of the single SRM-4 with Artemis. It would have had overall a lot better close-range firepower, but it's also going to have a lot of heat limitations. It can only barely fire its weapons without gaining heat right now. If it had a bunch of SRM-2s, it would be even worse. But the thing that I actually really like about it is that the SRM-4 with the Artemis is acting as a really efficient crit padding system. This takes up the remaining 2 slots in the center torso, meaning that it gives a good chance of getting something other than your gyro or engine crit out. And then it's got the case on the SRM ammo in the side torso, which is really important because there's nothing else in that side torso. It's automatically going to get crit, and sure, you'll lose your left torso, but you've still got your right side with the PPC. And the SRM and the Artemis are still going to act as crit padding in the center torso. I would way rather have this in the left torso and have it blown off, but not lose the mech, rather than having the ammo mounted in the CT with the SRM-4. So to sum up, crit padding, really important. Case, really important. If you have to take mechs like you're playing Intro Tech that don't have case, you want to have as little ammo in as few locations as possible. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope this helps. Have a great day.